We welcome officers from the NBN Co Limited. I welcome Ms Ellie Sweeney, Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attendance this evening and that of your colleagues. There is an opportunity to make an opening statement, but given the time of evening, I would request that if it's possible for you to table that and forego an opening statement, that would be much appreciated.
I'd be delighted to. Do you mind if I just make a 1 minute update? 1 minute would be wonderful. I'm going to do this really quickly. Hey, thank you so much for your time. Hey, Chair, thank you again, and for the committee. It's great to be in Canberra again. I'm not going to introduce my colleagues, but maybe just a couple of comments from NBN. Again, we have just released our financial results for the year, and I would suggest that they have been a solid, not only operational but financial results for the year ending, and we have delivered against the guidance for the organisation. The results are very clearly in our annual report, which has been tabled to Parliament as well. We are definitely seeing customers embrace the digital capability and the higher speeds that NBN has been operating on and definitely looking to deliver, particularly over the last few years. And maybe a couple of dot points here. We've seen the adoption of high-speed plans, particularly those 100 megabits above. They've climbed to 36% of our active base, and that's up from 24% last year. We have introduced something in September of this year which we have been working on for more than 18 months, and it's Accelerate Great, and we have delivered for certain customers 5 times faster wholesale speeds for about 2.1 million homes and businesses within Australia at no additional wholesale cost. In regional and remote, and I know that Senator Henderson will be interested in this, but we have announced the landmark agreement with Amazon Kuiper, which again is to deliver low Earth orbit satellites for regional and remote Australia. Resilience, I know, has been a topic of conversation today, so maybe if I can just mention a couple of things. We continue to invest in critical digital infrastructure. We understand and appreciate that over 20 million Australians rely on NBN's network every day. We continue to do a lot of work in digital inclusion across a number of areas, school student broadband being just one of them. And maybe just to finish, as we look ahead to FY26, I think our priorities are very clear. We continue to invest in network and resilience. We continue to invest in cybersecurity to protect connectivity and to support critical infrastructure. We are accelerating in terms of national productivity through reliable, resilient and faster full broadband. We look forward to completing the 3.5 million fibre to the node premises by December of this year in 2025, and that's going to expand gigabit capability. And we're also upgrading the remaining 622,000 premises on legacy copper. Chair, we are building a network that we believe is going to be more reliable, is going to be smarter and faster, and our teams are incredibly focused on delivering that for the nation.
Thank you, Ms Sweeney. I appreciate your brevity. I will now turn to the Coalition senators who have questions. Senator Smith.
Thanks very much, and thank you for your attendance at such a late hour. I just wanted to return to the matter of the NBN network outage that was experienced across the Goldfields, Esperance region, I think around the time of the 26th of September. Can you just give me a high-level overview of the events that took place and how they were resolved?
Sorry, that was the outage in Esperance?
That's right, the Goldfield Esperance area.
Senator, definitely. Look, we appreciate your question, and maybe a couple of comments from me before I hand over to Dion, who is our Chief Network Officer. I think today, and listening into some of the Senate hearings, there's been a lot of conversation around what are, I think, complicated and quite frankly serious topics. I really want to acknowledge on behalf of everybody at NBN the seriousness we take in providing critical digital infrastructure to Australia. We provide access to over 80 million Australians, 80% of Australia every day. We at NBN, we regret any disruption. So whether it is a disruption around an individual fault for an individual service, whether it is a planned network maintenance or upgrade, or indeed whether it is an unplanned outage. And Senator, the disruption in Esperance is what we would class as an unplanned outage. I think it's important, before I throw to Dion, to maybe just give some context here about the NBN network. versus the network that the RSPs, the retail service providers, operate. And again, maybe some context for there. We provide what is classed as a Layer 2 wholesale access broadband network. And this is a different network than what's sitting over the top of it, if you will, and that's where the voice services, amongst other things, come into play. So our relationship is with the retail service providers, and the relationship with the retail service providers is with the end customers. We have very little visibility. Actually,
Correct.
we have
You're
none.
a wholesale network.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Let me throw to Dion maybe just to give a little bit more context around the operation of the NBN network in relation to RSPs, and then we'd be delighted to spend a little bit more time with you on the Esperance issue.
Thank you, Ms Sweeney. Dion Labanovic, appearing as Chief Network Officer for NBN. As Ms Sweeney mentioned, the NBN is a wholesale-only, predominantly Layer 2 network, which means we provide the underlying physical infrastructure, such as the cables and the electronics, which does enable a data pathway from a consumer's home all the way through to a retail service provider's network. Retailers then provide the internet broadband and the voice service on top of the NBN. That's what's referred to as Layer 3 and beyond. And that means retailers manage configuration, routing, monitoring and delivery of those services themselves. And as Ms Sweeney said, we, from a wholesale perspective, do not have access to customer records, customer information, such as homes, addresses, billing service information. Senator, if I touch on the actual outage, the network fault itself in Esperance. So it was on the 26th of September.
Correct.
We received an alert in our network management centre. So that's a network management centre that manages all of Australia's national broadband network based in Melbourne. And we received an alert on what's called a network card.
Yep. And was that at 9:37 a.m?
Western Australian time. So we received that alert, and we look at this from Eastern Standard Time.
And then you publish the details of that 11 a.m?
Yes, correct. So once we receive the alarm at 11:29, we have those alarms. The Network Management Centre immediately looks to restore the network card itself remotely.
And when were the services restored?
The services were restored, Senator, at approximately 9:34 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
So 11:34 p.m. Western Standard Time.
That would be around 7.
7:30, quite right.
Yeah.
Quite right, yeah.
Yeah.
7:30, so just 10 hours, approximately 10 hours.
Yeah, 9 yeah.
Great. How many landline services were impacted? I saw a media report that suggested 708.
So we only can see, Senator, as mentioned, because we're a wholesale network, we can only see the services in operation on the NBN network. That's a data service. There were 708 services in operation that were affected through that period. We cannot see what voice services go over the that data section, because that's on the retail networks, retail
And
service
so
providers networks.
what was the impact on 000 calls?
So when the NBN network has a network fault or an unplanned outage, such as severe natural disasters like cyclones, for instance, the actual data stream that we provide is down, and that means...
And that's the case in this situation because Ms Sweeney described it as an unplanned outage.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And there was a network fault. It was a network card that failed. It was an electronic piece of equipment that failed, and we had to send a field engineer and a field technician to Esperance to replace that card with a spare card and get the network back up and running. Which
you were able to do by 7:34 p.m. that evening?
Correct.
Right.
So the local field engineer, we've got field engineers centred across Australia. Mm-hmm. The nearest engineer was based in Bunbury in WA. Bunbury.
To Esperance. So they would have had to hot-foot it.
Correct. So what we do when we identify...
Speed even. Or perhaps not.
Well, what we do, Senator, is we look for flights that are available at any time. Flights were not available at that time. So
you got to go from Bunbury to Perth to get to Kalgoorlie to get Esperance, or Perth to Esperance on a flight.
From Bunbury.
They're very irregular and unreliable.
Yep. Many times.
Yes. Yeah. So the field engineer went from Bunbury by road with the electronic spares down to Esperance to replace that card.
So just so were 000 calls impacted?
Senator, as I mentioned, we can only see the services in operations. Retailers provide that service, provide that.
And a retailer wouldn't. So, if a retailer had experienced a 000 difficulty, would that have been reported to you?
Yes, so both NBN, we have obligations to notify when NBN network goes down, and retailers have requirements to notify because they have that end user relationship. We provided 4 notices through that outage period. So we provided the notice of significant local outage to retailers, to the department, to the ACMA, to the Telecommunications Industry Ombudsman, to NEMA, to the emergency services organisations, including WA Police, Ambulance.
These are outages notices?
These are the significant...
Which the committee is much more familiar with as a result of today's hearings than perhaps previously?
Yeah, so this falls in the classification of a remote community. Anything over 250 services in operations is required to be notified. And we obviously also notified the emergency call person. We then provided, within an hour, updates to the notice once we had the resolution timing planned with the field engineer. And we provided a third notice closer to the period of restoration for an update to all stakeholders. And then we provided a final notice confirming the restoration and the ongoing monitoring of...
and during that 10-hour period, retailers didn't notify you of any failure of 000 calls to connect?
The obligation for retailers is to provide those stakeholders themselves. They don't have an obligation to communicate with NBN.
So since the events of the 26th of September, are you aware of any difficulties that were experienced in regards to 000 calls?
We can only see, Senator, the NBN network.
I'm probably thinking more anecdotally.
Anecdotally, Senator, we are not aware.
Okay, thank you.
And Senator, I would add that again, NBN takes these matters very seriously. The alarm went off at 11:29. The incident was created at 11:33. We attempted to restore via remotely when we were unable to do that.
Yes, this is the Eastern Standard Time versus Western Standard Time because I've got 9:37 a.m. here. That's right. Yeah. Given the events in regards to the Optus outage and the West Australian deaths that have been experienced, are you considering or have you been asked to consider any better reporting or more formal communication between retailers and yourself in regards to difficulties that might be experienced around 000 calls, or not necessary?
Senator, we haven't been asked to consider anything more formally. What I would suggest, though, is we do comply with the ACMA requirements under the telecommunications industry standards. That's post-Bean. And I think, again, we've had Cyclone Alfred was potentially a good example of that, where, again, we're very clear in terms of the reporting requirements that we have.
I suppose a key element that was revealed today is, yes, there is a regulatory framework, and yes, there are regulators, but the issue in regards to how effective market participants are in proactively considering a whole range of issues so that the regulatory regime stays ahead of issues rather than react to issues. That was really where my line of inquiry was going. Just finally then, and you might want to take this on notice, and congratulations to the NBN, it does look like it was resolved particularly effectively and efficiently given the distances that are involved. They are big distances. Perhaps you could provide to me on notice, in this calendar year, how many unplanned outages NBN has experienced in Western Australia and the geographic region or the exchange, etc., in which that's taken place. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Senator, we can definitely take that on notice and provide that.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Smith. Who am I going to, Senator Henderson, or is that...
No more questions.
Okay.
Call creative response.
Certainly. Thank you very much to the officers of NBN Co Limited for your attendance and your evidence here today. You are dismissed with the committee's thanks. We now have, for a very short window, the officials from Creative Australia. I appreciate the time and the amount of time you've waited. If we could make this changeover as quickly as possible, given the narrowness of the window, and thank you again.
Thank you, Senators.